This is WLOX News Now at 6. Your news for South Mississippi starts now.
Thanks for joining us tonight on WLOX News Now at 6. Hurricane Francine making landfall within the last hour on the Louisiana coast, and we here in South Mississippi are feeling the impacts.
Yeah, you can see some of those out right now from a live look from our storm tracker over in Pass Christian. That water just keeps getting more choppy as the night goes on.
Yeah, and starting to see the water rise a little bit there. And now let's bring in meteorologist Taylor Graham for the latest on what's happening right now with Francine.
Well, now that Francine made landfall, it is beginning to weaken a little bit. It's back to being a Category 1 hurricane, and right around 5 o'clock this evening, it made landfall as a Cat 2 with winds of 100 miles per hour right near Terrebonne Parish in Louisiana. Now it is continuing its journey up to the north and east, but at a pretty good pace for a tropical system at 17 miles per hour. Pressure going up a little bit now that it is moving over land, but things are still expected to go a bit more downhill for us here in South Mississippi in terms of rain, surge, and even some strong wind. So from here on out, the wind likely going to be getting a little bit stronger for us. And of course, we've already seen plenty of rainfall with the system. More is expected over the next several hours. And within these rain bands, we also could see some quick spin-up tornadoes, and a tornado watch does remain in effect until 11 o'clock this evening. The track of Francine still shows it moving up to the north and east, but because we are on the east side of that system, we're still going to be feeling the impacts. There's a good chance that overnight tonight it will be downgraded to a tropical storm, but of course, rain, wind, surge still going to be an issue for us over the next several hours as we get into Wednesday night. So a heads up on that. Zooming in a little bit here closer to home, we can see some of those heavier pockets of rain moving in from the south to the north as they rotate around Francine. At this time, rain is a little on and off, but we do expect the rain to pick up even more over the next several hours. And according to radar estimates, over the past day or so, we've already picked up 1 to 3 inches of rain closer to the coast. We'll start to see rainfall totals increase throughout the rest of the night, and many of us are going to be ending up with 3 to 6 inches of rain once it's all said and done. And taking a look at some of our current wind gusts, looks like we do see some gusts near 25 to 35 miles per hour along the coast. We've got that wind mainly out of the east. Of course, stronger winds right now still in parts of coastal Louisiana, but we may see some gusts today or tonight upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour. That could lead to some power outages. Surge as high as 6 feet, especially in Hancock and Harrison counties. Rain is still going to be one of the bigger issues, though, with more rain expected later tonight. We'll have another breakdown of Hurricane Francine and its impacts coming up later in the show with Chief Meteorologist Eric Shanson.
And Gulfport now under a city-wide curfew. It started just a few moments ago, set to last until 6 a.m. City officials say during this time, no one is allowed on public streets or property except for emergency personnel. A curfew in the cities of Bay St. Louis and Waveland will begin at 10 tonight and will last until 5 tomorrow morning.
Most coast schools were closed today and already scheduled to keep the doors closed tomorrow. To check your school district's plans, keep an eye on the ticker here at the bottom of your screen, and we also have the full list of school closures on WLOX.com. Well, the winds right now are picking up, and let's head out to Noah Noble live in Bay St. Louis.
Yeah, Noah, what's it looking like out there right now?
Well, Jennifer, it is definitely getting darker out here, and Hugh, you're right. The winds out here, especially in the last 30 minutes, have just really picked up. I mean, it's been so much that we've now had to start holding the camera down because even with the sandbag on it, we're a little worried that it might tip over. Conditions out here, the rain really hasn't been too bad. It's been constant throughout the day with some heavier pours at times, but the wind is the real factor here. The palm trees out here just really blowing now. Some of the video you're looking at was taken around 4 or 5 o'clock, so some of it may be a little deceiving because really, like I said, in the last 30 minutes, this wind picking up, really starting to feel Francine's impacts here in South Mississippi, particularly here in Bay St. Louis at the harbor where I'm at now. We've been seeing a lot of boat captains coming out here, checking on their boats because while there was a mandatory evacuation here at the harbor, a lot of boat captains are taking a chance and decided to keep their boats here because they don't think Francine's impacts will be that strong. A lot of the boat captains coming out here, checking their lines, making sure they haven't snapped. We're seeing a lot of the masts from the sailboats out here really starting to whip back and forth, a sure sign of those winds picking up here. We're going to be out here for the rest of the evening, keeping an eye on these conditions. Live in Bay St. Louis, I'm Noah Noble for WLOX News Now.
So residents in low-lying areas, they've been through this drill before, and they're moving their vehicles out to higher ground. Here's trucks and cars lining Highway 603 in Hancock County. Over the last few days, residents have been moving these vehicles to the higher ground in order to help prevent damage from flooding in those low-lying areas.
Yeah, and for a look at what those residents are facing right now, let's head over to Jacoby Rivers. Jacoby, that water rising out there tonight.
Yeah, Jennifer and Hugh, many people in the low-lying areas here in Hancock County, they're experts at this, like you said, and the water is slowly rising, but this is nothing for them. They already made their preparations. They are loosened, they secured all the loosening stuff inside their houses, outside their houses, secured their boats. So they were ready for this on day one when Francine was first coming in. So that is safe to say with the low-lying areas. But here on 603, Hugh, as you just mentioned, those cars are parked on the side. Here's a live look right now. Earlier it was less cars, but now there are more cars adding on further down 603. The road is a little bit wet, so people are taking their times to avoid hydroplaning, sliding off the road, hitting one of those cars on the side of the road that you see. But it's definitely been windy out here, and a lot of rain, I should say, here in Hancock County, especially in low-lying areas. And the area we were at earlier in the Jordan Estates, they were part of a voluntary evacuation that Hancock County issued yesterday around 6 o'clock. And that area I was at, it was a mixture of vacation homes as well as people living there. And if the people who already left, they made sure their belongings were secured, but the people who stayed, they were with their friends and families, just having, just talking with each other, making sure they're okay, making sure their belongings are okay as well. So they're taking care of themselves, and just riding this one now. And I can definitely say the water is slowly but surely rising in those areas. Now we will have another look around 6:30 here on 603 also, but throughout the entire evening we'll have another look at those low-lying areas now that Francine is making his way towards Louisiana. But until then, reporting here in Hancock County, Jacoby Rivers, WLOX News Now.
So it looks like light rain out there right now for Hancock County. Straight ahead, continued coverage on Hurricane Francine. Coming up next, we will be talking with Governor Tate Reeves.
Google Pixel 9 Pro with Magic Editor. Now you can reimagine any photo. Go ahead, the sky's the limit. Okay, I guess not even the sky is the limit.
You there, boy! What day is today? Why, it's debate day, sir.
Jon Stewart's at the desk.
And they said it couldn't be done.
To cover the debate that could change the world as we know it.
Hey, John, come back to the Daily Show just for the election. It'll be fun. You'll do one day a week, it'll be a larve.
Comedy Central's The Daily Show. Complete debate coverage with Jon Stewart. Now streaming on Paramount+.
How far did Bernie Moreno go to cover his tracks? He shredded evidence, a fact he doesn't deny. Moreno was sued for stealing his employees' pay, money they earned working overtime. Moreno was even sued for firing a single mom. Faced with multiple lawsuits, Moreno shredded key evidence. And after he finally admitted it, a jury ordered him to pay nearly $500,000. We can't trust Bernie Moreno. Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
You're watching the news for South Mississippi. This is WLOX News Now at 6.
Sponsored exclusively in high definition by Chevron Pascagoula Refinery, the human energy company.
Our First Alert weather team, not the only ones keeping a track on Francine's impacts tonight.
Yeah, joining us now with the actions being taken by our state leaders and emergency officials. Governor Tate Reeves joining us from the governor's mansion in Jackson. Governor, thanks for joining us. And right now, what's your biggest advice or takeaway for people here on the coast?
Well, obviously, thank you for having me on. And look, the people of the Mississippi Gulf Coast know how to deal with storms like this far better than I or anyone else will. But we just want to highlight the importance of being prepared. We're seeing it now. Francine has made landfall there in central Louisiana, and we've already begun to see the beginnings of higher storm surge, already beginning to see the beginnings of wind and lots of rain. and we're going to see a lot of water in this event. We need to be prepared for that.
Yeah, and MEMA officials ready to hit the ground running whenever they need to. Search and rescue teams are already being ready to deploy, right?
That's exactly right. We've already deployed over 100,000 sandbags to our partner counties in South Mississippi. We're fortunate that in our coastal region we have local search and rescue assets. We also have a state search and rescue team that has been pre-positioned to help with those counties where that is not the case. We pray that we don't have to use those assets today, that everyone gets through safely. But in the event that someone does need help, we're going to be there to help them.
And if there are significant impacts, Governor, how long do you think it would take the state to come in with some sort of help if necessary?
Well, obviously, we want everyone to prepare to take care of themselves to the extent possible. But the fact of the matter is what we're really concerned about in this particular storm is the fact that we have a lot of dead trees in the state of Mississippi. We've already had a lot of rainfall, as you mentioned earlier in your show. And so with a really wet ground and a lot of dead trees and now wind shear coming in, we could certainly see a disproportionate number of power outages across the state in this particular storm. We've already got power companies from a lot of other states that have pre-positioned their assets so we can try to get that power back on as quickly as possible. But that's one of the biggest risks in this storm is that we could see a lot of loss of power, and it could take some time to get it back on just because of the potential enormity of that situation.
Yeah, and like you touched on earlier, Mississippi really no stranger to this kind of severe weather, unfortunately. Just Hurricane Katrina, just last year we had that tornado over in Moss Point. It is important to note that we still do have several months left in hurricane season. What's your advice to people at home fearing for this storm and maybe any future storms?
Well, Jennifer, one of the things that you mentioned that I think is critically important is a lot of times these storms, while obviously it hit landfall at a Category 2. It's declined a little bit over the last hour and is now closer to a Category 1 storm, maybe even headed towards tropical storm as it moves north, which is often the case. But what we saw in Moss Point and what we've seen in other parts of our state is the spin-off tornado activity can be very dangerous. And so that's why we need everyone to be prepared over the next 12 to 24 hours all throughout our state. To be prepared for what may come, because every one of these storms are different and they don't all produce significant numbers of tornadoes, but some of them do. And so I think what my message to everyone across South Mississippi is you certainly know how to deal with weather such as this, but always know that every storm is different and be prepared no matter what may be thrown at you.
Okay, Governor Reeves, thank you for joining us. And the forecast shows this storm pretty much moving through the entire state of Mississippi with impacts being felt even in the northern counties as we move forward. So you'll be watching it throughout the night and tomorrow. Governor, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
And we'll have the latest on Hurricane Francine as it makes its way through southeast Louisiana. We'll have the latest forecast coming up right after the break, but first, here's a look at what you can expect over the water tonight.
Google Pixel 9 Pro with Magic Editor. Now you can reimagine any photo. Go ahead, the sky's the limit. Okay, I guess not even the sky is the limit.
How far did Bernie Moreno go to cover his tracks? He shredded evidence, a fact he doesn't deny. Moreno was sued for stealing his employees' pay, money they earned working overtime. Moreno was even sued for firing a single mom. Faced with multiple lawsuits, Moreno shredded key evidence. And after he finally admitted it, a jury ordered him to pay nearly $500,000. We can't trust Bernie Moreno. Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
To help protect from HIV, I prep
without pills.
With Apretude, a prescription medicine used to reduce the risk of HIV without daily PrEP pills, with one shot every other month, just 6 times a year. In studies, Apretude was proven superior to a daily PrEP pill in reducing the risk of HIV. You must be HIV negative to receive Apretude and get tested before each injection. If you think you were exposed to HIV or have flu-like symptoms, tell your doctor right away. Apretude does not prevent other sexually transmitted infections. Practice safer sex to reduce your risk. Don't take Apretude if you're allergic to it or taking certain medicines as they may interact. Tell your doctor if you've had liver or kidney problems or mental health concerns. If you have a rash or other allergic reactions, stop Apretude and get medical help right away. Serious side effects include allergic reactions, liver problems, and depression. Some of the most common side effects include injection site reactions and headache. You must receive Apretude as scheduled. Ask your doctor about long-acting Apretude. Save at Apretude.com.
Now, WLOX First Alert Weather with Chief Meteorologist Eric Jaussaw.
All right, looking at our Silver Slipper Tower Cam in Bay St. Louis and Hancock County, the water definitely looking a lot more rough, and you can see the camera bouncing around as well. So the winds are beginning to pick up along the coast. Here's the latest on Hurricane Francine, currently about 20 miles southeast of Morgan City, Louisiana. It made landfall earlier as a Category 2 hurricane in Terrebonne Parish, about 30 miles south of Morgan City earlier today. So winds currently back down to 90 miles per hour. It is currently now a Category 1 storm. It did make landfall as a Category 2 hurricane, but now it's weakening now that it has made landfall, but it's moving pretty fast to the northeast at 17 miles per hour. Notice here, here's the forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. Notice this here. This is the track that it has actually taken. Notice over the last couple of hours or so, last 2 hours, it has made that northeasterly turn. Forecast to continue moving off more toward the northeast. We'll watch to see if it stays more of the center of the track or maybe on the right side, but regardless, South Mississippi over the next couple of hours, we're going to see the rain bands, we're going to see the strong gusty winds. We'll have that opportunity for those quick spin-up tornadoes. A little bit better view of the track. Notice it's just been kind of wobbling and going back and forth there as made landfall over towards Terrebonne Parish earlier this evening. So, looking at the bigger picture, notice Francine has a very large eye, in fact, about 50 miles wide estimated as it's moving through Morgan City, and it looks like the outer edge of that eye wall, the area where those most intense winds are, which is this, what you see here wrapping around the center, that is making its way towards New Orleans. And so South Mississippi on the right side of a hurricane, we're going to see some impacts. We're going to see those rain bands continue. We're also noticing this rain band right here just off the coast. It is starting to get a little bit more organized, and we're going to start seeing those heavier amounts of rain and those stronger gusty winds with that start to make their way on. Here's a look at the wind speeds we've seen in the past hour or so. Along the coast here in South Mississippi, we're gusting anywhere from 30 to 35 miles per hour at times, but we're seeing stronger wind gusts, of course, where the center of the storm is, 71 mile per hour wind gusts just off the coast of Terrebonne Parish. So looking at the current wind field, notice the tropical storm force winds extend 115 miles away from the center of the storm, and those tropical storm force winds, sustained winds, are now moving over into Hancock and parts of Pearl River County. And over the next couple of hours, we'll gradually see those tropical storm force winds move into South Mississippi, with the stronger winds staying just to our west. So the worst of the impacts most likely staying across southeastern Louisiana, but here in South Mississippi, it's going to be a little bumpy at times with the gusty winds. Can't rule out some quick spin-up tornadoes. There is a tornado watch in effect for Hancock, Harrison, Jackson counties, also Pearl River County. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe George and Stone were included in that later on. At the radar, you can see that eye wall, and again, that's some very strong winds. That's where you're going to find those 90 mile per hour winds that is currently set at the latest advisory. That is moving towards New Orleans, so some very strong winds about to cross over Lake Pontchartrain. Over into South Mississippi, just off the coast of Hancock County and Harrison County, we're seeing more organized rain bands make their way onto the coast towards Waveland, Past Christian, Gulfport, Biloxi, you might start seeing the rain pick up just a little bit. Over into Jackson County, not seeing too much at the moment right now, but we are watching these rain bands that are just to the south and west of you, and those are lifting north towards Jackson County. A little bit further inland, Pearl River, Stone, and George counties, you're seeing some light rain, some gusty winds, but right now the winds are much stronger along the coast and further off towards the southwest towards Hancock County. So the latest forecast track, again, the storm passing just to our west. We're on the right side of that. That means we're going to see those impacts. Looking at the big picture, despite Francine kind of dealing with some wind shear and dry air, you can see the dry air very well on the water vapor, all the oranges and reds. Overall, Francine has kind of fought off the dry air a little bit, and you can see the upper level winds are starting to shear those thunderstorms away from the center. Now that it's getting a little bit further north, it's riding around this area of high pressure that is centered just to the south. Also have this dip in the jet stream here that's trying to tug Francine off towards the north and towards the east. So timing it out on Futurecast. Overnight tonight, over the next couple of hours, things will start to go downhill. We're going to have some heavy rain bands pass through, some strong gusty winds at times. Can't rule out quick spin up tornadoes as these rain bands spiral across South Mississippi. Notice by 10 o'clock, seeing those rain bands still moving on through. Here we are by midnight, the center of the storm passing just to our west. There are some hints that perhaps that dry air starts to wrap around the bottom half of Francine, and perhaps the rain starts to wrap up after 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. But before it's all said and done, up to 6 inches of rain is possible in some spots. Those winds in those rain bands can't rule out some wind gusts up to 40 to 50 miles per hour, maybe a little bit higher than that at times. So again, overnight tonight, we need to stay weather aware. We're going to watch Francine very closely. We're going to have a look at the 7-day forecast at the end of the show.
To help protect from HIV, I prep without pills.
With Apretude, a prescription medicine used to reduce the risk of HIV without daily PrEP pills, with one shot every other month, just 6 times a year. In studies, Apretude was proven superior to a daily PrEP pill in reducing the risk of HIV. You must be HIV negative to receive Apretude and get tested before each injection. If you think you were exposed to HIV or have flu-like symptoms, tell your doctor right away. Apretude does not prevent other sexually transmitted infections. Practice safer sex to reduce your risk. Don't take Apretude if you're allergic to it or taking certain medicines as they may interact. Tell your doctor if you've had liver or kidney problems or mental health concerns. If you have a rash or other allergic reactions, stop Apretude and get medical help right away. Serious side effects include allergic reactions, liver problems, and depression. Some of the most common side effects include injection site reactions and headache. You must receive Apretude as scheduled. Ask your doctor about long-acting Apretude. Save at Apretude.com.
You there, boy! What day is today? Why, it's debate day, sir.
Jon Stewart's at the desk.
And they said it couldn't be done.
To cover the debate that could change the world as we know it.
Hey, John, come back to the Daily Show just for the election. It'll be fun. You'll do one day a week. It'll be a larf.
Comedy Central's The Daily Show. Complete debate coverage with Jon Stewart. Now streaming on Paramount+.
Keeping an eye on the impacts of the storm with teams out all over the Gulf Coast right now.
Will Paulston is in Pascagoula right now, and let's head out to him for a look at the conditions being felt over in Jackson County.
Yeah, thank you, Hugh. Yeah, things are starting to pick up a little bit over here in Jackson County. As you can tell, a little bit windy, probably getting picked up by the microphone a little bit. Having a little bit more rain as well that we were seeing over in Moss Point. But we're out here on Buffett Beach, and as you can probably see behind me, you can start to see the waves starting to come in a little bit quicker. If you saw, the clouds are very fast moving. But right now, still pretty relatively calm, I should say. Things are definitely picking up from where they were at earlier today at 4 o'clock, but there's an obvious change in the weather over the last few hours. Now, as we've been out here in Pascagoula, we've seen a couple of people pull up here to Buffett Beach. We've seen people play in some flood waters. We've seen people pull up and just look at the waters. And while it's nice and all to try to get a look at that and try to make the best of a bad situation, I talked with the fire chief of Pascagoula, Hyler Krebs, and he said that he is really insistent that people get inside and make sure they take shelter and make sure that they have that safe space. While they haven't had any reports of anything too dangerous yet, it could be a matter of time before something comes up. Live in Pascagoula, Will Polson, WLOX News Now.
Yeah, I do want to clarify that video you were seeing there was in Moss Point, damage left behind from last year's tornado.
Right, and we're going to have another check on Francine right after the break.
You there, boy! What day is today? Why, it's debate day, sir.
Jon Stewart's at the desk.
And they said it couldn't be done.
To cover the debate that could change the world as we know it.
Hey, John, come back to the Daily Show just for the election. It'll be fun. You'll do one day a week. It'll be a larve.
Comedy Central's The Daily Show. Complete debate coverage with Jon Stewart. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
To help protect from HIV, I prep without pills.
With Apretude, a prescription medicine used to reduce the risk of HIV without daily PrEP pills, with one shot every other month, just 6 times a year. In studies, Apretude was proven superior to a daily PrEP pill in reducing the risk of HIV. You must be HIV negative to receive Apretude and get tested before each injection. If you think you were exposed to HIV or have flu-like symptoms, tell your doctor right away. Apretude does not prevent other sexually transmitted infections. Practice safer sex to reduce your risk. Don't take Apretude if you're allergic to it or taking certain medicines as they may interact. Tell your doctor if you've had liver or kidney problems or mental health concerns. If you have a rash or other allergic reactions, stop Apretude and get medical help right away. Serious side effects include allergic reactions, liver problems, and depression. Some of the most common side effects include injection site reactions and headache. You must receive Apretude as scheduled. Ask your doctor about long-acting Apretude. Save at Apretude.com.
Well, we've been seeing steady rain throughout the day as these impacts from Hurricane Francine continue. And now let's check back in with Chief Meteorologist Eric Johnson for another look at this forecast.
Yeah, and we continue to track Francine again. Winds of 90 miles per hour moving to the northeast at 17 miles per hour. And we're seeing it looks like the northern eye wall around this 50-mile wide eye, at least estimated according to radar. Looks like that's starting to move into New Orleans. We're watching these rain bands here in South Mississippi making their way onto the coast. The good news is as we go into tomorrow afternoon, things should be much better as we go throughout the evening.
To help protect from HIV, I prep without pills.
With Apretude, a prescription medicine used to reduce the risk of HIV without daily PrEP pills, with one shot every other month, just 6 times a year. In studies, Apretude was proven superior to a daily PrEP pill in reducing the risk of HIV. You must be HIV negative to receive Apretude and get tested before each injection. If you think you were exposed to HIV or have flu-like symptoms, tell your doctor right away. Apretude does not prevent other sexually transmitted infections. Practice safer sex to reduce your risk. Don't take Apretude if you're allergic to it or taking certain medicines as they may interact. Tell your doctor if you've had liver or kidney problems or mental health concerns. If you have a rash or other allergic reactions, stop Apretude and get medical help right away. Serious side effects include allergic reactions, liver problems, and depression. Some of the most common side effects include injection site reactions and headache. You must receive Apretude as scheduled. Ask your doctor about long-acting Apretude. Save at Apretude.com.
Behold, OtterBox Defender Series, protector of technology.
Is this what you think when you think OtterBox? Well, think again.
We've got selections and collections.
We've got style for miles. And tell your dad, we still have the Defender Series.
This is WLOX News Now at 6:30. Your news for South Mississippi starts now.
Hurricane Francine making landfall on the Louisiana coast just within the past few hours. South Mississippi is feeling the impacts. Thanks for joining us on WLOX News Now at 6:30. I'm Jennifer Lott. We are tracking Hurricane Francine as it makes its way across the Gulf Coast. We begin our team coverage at this hour with meteorologist Taylor Graham.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. Just a heads up for the folks over there in the booth. Let's go ahead and switch it over to Max 2. That's the computer that I have control of. But at least at this time, we can get a view of Francine. It did make landfall earlier this evening as a Category 2 hurricane. There we go. Wanted to show the previous path of the system. It's moved around just a little bit, but now it's moved inland, so it has begun to weaken. It made landfall as a Cat 2. Now it's a Cat 1 with winds of 90 miles per hour. Still moving up to the north and east at a pretty steady pace, 17 miles per hour. That really hasn't changed. And notice here that some very heavy rainfall within that, some strong winds going to be moving into New Orleans within the next few moments. And for us, we're certainly looking at more of those rain bands heading in our direction over the next several hours. And as Francine continues to move out to the north and east, we will continue to see the wind strengthen here in South Mississippi. Now, eventually it will become a tropical storm. That's likely going to happen overnight tonight, and it will become a depression as it moves up into the central part of the state. But for now, as Francine gets a little bit closer to us, we'll start to see more rain, more wind, and possibly more surge. A storm surge warning remains in effect right along the coast. Some of us not seeing rain right now, but I am noticing some heavier downpours beginning to move in from the south and also the south and west. And we can see where we've got some heavy rain. They're dealing with some flash flooding right now. That's also going to be a concern for us. We've already picked up a decent amount of rain over the past day or so. Some spots on the coast accumulated 1 to 3 inches and more to come later this evening. Winds picking up a little bit more, it looks like, over into Bay St. Louis and Waveland, seeing some gusts over 30 miles per hour, close to a 30 mile per hour gust in Gulfport. But of course, where we see areas closer to the center of Francine, the wind is still stronger. We still could see some gusts upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour here that may cause some sporadic power outages. Rain is a concern, surge up to 6 feet, especially in Hancock and Harrison County. And we will continue to track Francine throughout the rest of the night. Our chief meteorologist, Eric Johnson, will also have another in-depth look at Francine coming up later in the show.
Gulfport's now under a citywide curfew that started just within the last hour. It's set to last until 6 a.m. City officials say during this time, no one's allowed on public streets or property except for emergency personnel. Curfew in the cities of Bay St. Louis and Waveland will begin at 10 tonight. That'll last until 5 tomorrow morning. Turning now to our crews out in the field, Mackenzie Martin continues our team coverage over in Bay St. Louis with more on how businesses and residents in that area are being impacted so far. Mackenzie?
Yeah, thanks, Jen. As you can see, Hurricane Francine is making its way through Louisiana. We are obviously seeing the outer rain bands of that here in Bay St. Louis. It has progressively gotten much darker since we've been here, probably around 12:30, 1 o'clock. And the wind obviously really picking up out here. I've almost lost my hat a couple times, and not to be too dramatic, but as I'm standing here, I'm actually having to brace myself as the wind is picking up from behind me. And along with that, those wanting to grab the last minute necessities for the storm can no longer, since Walmart's in Pass Christian, Waveland, and Picayune closed at 3. Mostly all restaurants and businesses along North Beach Boulevard here are closed to prepare for the impact from Hurricane Francine. At the harbor behind me, many boat owners coming back to check on their boats that they decided to leave at the Bay St. Louis harbor. Despite the mandatory evacuation, they have gone back to check the lines, tying more lines just to make sure this wind and obviously the water is not going to damage or impact those boats in any way from the Hurricane Francine's outer rain bands that we are seeing here now. So it has gotten much darker out here. Wind is picking up a lot more, and rain obviously as well. Reporting live in Bay St. Louis, Mackenzie Martin, WLOX News Now.
Yeah, you just heard Mackenzie mention about businesses shutting their doors today. Walmart closed 3 of its stores ahead of the worst of Francine's rain. The Pass Christian, Waveland, and Picayune stores closed at 3 o'clock. Shoppers made some last runs for hurricane supplies before those doors closed, battling the rain bands. The manager of the Waveland Walmart told us the decision was made to keep customers and associates off of the roads and safe before that weather got worse during the evening hours. Also in Hancock County, our reporter Jacoby Rivers joins us now. He's following conditions out on the roads after Francine made landfall. Jacoby, what are you seeing out there tonight?
Well, Jennifer, right now on 603, cars are parked, as you see. But before I get to the car, excuse me, on 603, it's a wet road, but just to show you how much rain came down here in Hancock County, this ditch right here earlier, like around 3 o'clock, it wasn't filled with water that much, but as you can see, the water is steadily rising, and that's because of the rain that's been hitting Hancock County along with the winds. Now, with that in mind, going back to, I'm here on 603, going back to that, cars are parked on the side of the road to make sure that they don't get flooded out, or they can go get back to their cars safely as this storm makes its way through Louisiana and South Mississippi. And those people in the low-lying areas here in Hancock County, they're kind of doing the same exact thing. They took preparations yesterday, making sure, just like the people Mackenzie mentioned at the harbor in Bay St. Louis, those boat owners here in these areas are taking those precautions. They lifted their boats out of the water, or they moved their boats underneath their house with the stilts to make sure that they have their boats there when everything is said and done. Along with that, they're making sure that their items that are moved around, they're making sure that they're in the house, safely secured, so when the winds are picking up, they're not moving around or they're not missing from their property. And they're doing a great job at making sure that they're following the rules, because they've been through this several times when it comes to a small rain event. Their area tend to flood, so they know what to do. And it's a great thing to see that they're taking precautions for a tropical storm. And it just goes to show that these people here in Hancock County, they're ready to go when Francine made its way when it comes to parking the cars here on 603, or making sure those people in the low-lying areas are making sure their safety is the number one priority. I'll have more. We're actually going to stay out here just for a few more hours to see how everything is here in Hancock County to report that for y'all. But until then, reporting here in Hancock County, Jacoby Rivers, WLOX News Now.
All right, Jacoby, thank you. Some areas along the coast have seen significant changes in conditions throughout the day. Maya Turner is at one of the locations. Maya, what are you seeing over in Biloxi?
Well, Jennifer, out here in Biloxi, let me just walk you through our day. So we started off with the shelters that were taking people in and, giving them refuge from this storm. But then as we gone throughout the day, we've seen, we started off with light rain. There wasn't much really going on. But as we continued on into the 4 and 5 o'clock hours, the rain got extremely heavy. We were actually over at Point Cadet earlier, and the waves were extremely choppy. They were hitting up against the docks. It was a lot going on. However, the boats that were down there, they never left. They were under a voluntary evacuation, but a lot of people decided not to take their boats away and to just stay, tie them up, and a few actually came back while we were out there to just check on those knots and make sure that those boats are still there. Now, out here on the Pops Ferry Causeway, the wind is strong. As Taylor mentioned before and Mackenzie mentioned before, I've had to actually brace myself a few times for the wind out here. Not much rain going on, and right now the water is extremely calm. But that wind is blowing. We've had to brace the camera and everything else. Now, as far as 90 has gone, we have seen some flooding out there on 90, and do urge people to proceed with caution when it comes to driving there, because there are some significant spots out there that are flooded. As far as the school systems and everything goes, as we've been mentioning, they are closing for the next day and set to reopen on Friday. But, of course, we'll keep y'all updated with everything going on, Francine, from here on out. But for now, live in Biloxi, Maya Turner, WLOX News Now.
All right, thanks, Maya. Coming up after the break, we take a look at how Francine's impacting those traveling to and from the Gulf Coast.
And we continue to track Francine. We'll have the latest forecast coming up right after the break. But first, here's a look at what you can expect out over the water.
Google Pixel 9 Pro with Gemini. It can help you decide dinner with a snap of a photo. But hey, you still gotta cook it.
This is the view from the top. Yeah, look at me.
Behold, OtterBox Defender Series, protector of technology.
Is this what you think when you think OtterBox? Well, think again.
We've got selections and collections.
We've got style for miles. And tell your dad, we still have the Defender Series.
I've had good bosses and I had bosses, but I've never had a boss like Bernie Moreno. As a shady car salesman, Bernie Moreno got taken to court over a dozen times by his employees for stealing his workers' overtime pay, for racial, age, and sexual discrimination. In one lawsuit, a jury made Moreno pay $400,000 after he admitted to shredding evidence. We cannot trust Bernie Moreno in the Senate.
To help protect from HIV, I prep without pills.
With Apretude, a prescription medicine used to reduce the risk of HIV without daily PrEP pills, with one shot every other month, just 6 times a year. In studies, Apretude was proven superior to a daily PrEP pill in reducing the risk of HIV. You must be HIV negative to receive Apretude and get tested before each injection. If you think you were exposed to HIV or have flu-like symptoms, tell your doctor right away. Apretude does not prevent other sexually transmitted infections. Practice safer sex to reduce your risk. Don't take Apretude if you're allergic to it or taking certain medicines as they may interact. Tell your doctor if you've had liver or kidney problems or mental health concerns. If you have a rash or other allergic reactions, stop Apretude and get medical help right away. Serious side effects include allergic reactions, liver problems, and depression. Some of the most common side effects include injection site reactions and headache. You must receive Apretude as scheduled. Ask your doctor about long-acting Apretude. Save at apretude.com.
Now, WLOX First Alert Weather with Chief Meteorologist Eric Janson.
All right, things are going downhill pretty fast in Hancock County. Check out the Silver Slipper Tower Cam in Bay St. Louis. The winds have really picked up in the past hour or so, and you can see the white caps on the water and the sound as the wind continues to push it on shore there. Here's the latest wind field map put out by the National Hurricane Center for Francine. And notice the tropical storm force winds, which extend about 115 miles away from the center, which is over into Terrebonne Parish near Morgan City and Houma right now. We're seeing those tropical storm force winds now make their way into Hancock County and starts to Pearl River County. So things are going to continue to go downhill pretty fast for Hancock County. Notice wind gusts in the past hour, 35 miles per hour at the Bay Waveland Yacht Club. We just gusted to 62 in New Orleans. We're gusting well over 70 off the coast of Louisiana. Even have a tropical storm force wind gust 40 miles per hour just near the Chandelier Islands there. Along the coast in South Mississippi, we're looking at winds gusting anywhere from 20 to 30 miles per hour. But as we go throughout the next couple of hours, here we are by 9 o'clock, notice the wind field, those tropical storm force winds. That's why we're under a tropical storm warning, because of those tropical storm force winds that we're expecting over the next couple of hours. That wind field will gradually start to carry over into South Mississippi. And watch as we head towards midnight, most locations across South Mississippi experiencing those tropical storm force winds. Some locations, not everybody, but there could be some isolated wind gusts over 50 miles per hour. And the further west you go, the closer you get to the center of the storm, that's where the impacts are going to be greater and the winds are going to be stronger. So we certainly could see some gusts maybe up to 60 miles per hour over the Pearl River and Hancock counties, and maybe right along the coast at times with some of those heavier rain bands or those stronger rain bands that can tap into those stronger winds just above the surface. Here's a look at where Francine is currently. It is making its way towards Houma right now. Look at that northern eye wall. Heading up towards New Orleans, seeing lots of strong gusty winds. Just got a video from my stepbrother on the West Bank there. Lots of gusty winds in his backyard right now. Things are going downhill at the moment. We're seeing those heavier thunderstorms and rain bands fill in across the Mississippi Sound. Notice over into Hancock County. Let's take a little bit closer look at this. Very strong rain band developing and moving into Hancock County. Bay St. Louis, Waveland, Diamond Head, the Kill, past Christian, even Long Beach and Gulfport might start to feel this rain band as it starts to pivot northward into the coast there. And of course, you can see a little bit closer a view of the eye wall of Francine making its way, looks like it's crossing I-10 or making its way towards I-10 and about to cross I-12 at the moment. The other concern with Francine is the potential for storm surge. 4 to 6 feet is possible, especially as we head towards high tide tomorrow, which is between 4 to 6. But as Francine gets closer and closer and those winds become more southerly, we certainly could see the tides rise higher overnight tonight, 3 to 5 feet over towards Jackson County. The other concern tonight, tornadoes. We are under a tornado watch. Pearl River, Hancock, Harrison, and Jackson counties. Stone and George currently not in the tornado watch. However, if we start to see Francine lifting off towards the north, I wouldn't be surprised if this tornado watch will continue to get expanded to the north as well. Here's a look at the big picture, and here's what's steering Francine at the moment. If we take a wider view, high pressure over the Gulf, the clockwise flow around that has been pushing Francine from west to east. At the same time, we're seeing this dip in the jet stream here. That is starting to pick up Francine and accelerate it off towards the north. Also, there's lots of dry air. Everything you see in the reds and oranges, that's dry air trying to wrap around the side of Francine, trying to inhibit the development there. Also, the wind shear is starting to do a number. That's why when you look at the radar, maybe it looks like there's only half of a hurricane, because the northern half is where most of the rain is. The southern half, that dry air, is starting to have an impact along with the wind shear. So here's what it looks like on Futurecast. By 8 o'clock, more of those heavy rain bands making their way into South Mississippi, with the center making its way just to the west. That puts us on the right side of the storm. We're going to see those rain bands off and on throughout the overnight hours. Pockets of heavy downpours, strong gusty winds. Can't rule out a quick spin-up tornado as we go throughout the overnight hours. As far as rainfall goes, some spots where we see those rain bands persist over a long period of time, up to 6 inches is possible. River flooding is a concern. If you live near those rivers, make sure you're paying attention to those warnings. We'll have much more coming up in just a little bit.
We're continuing to monitor those conditions out there with this tropical weather. Will Polston joins us live from Jackson County with more.
Yeah, thank you. We're here in Pascagoula, where the rain is really starting to come down a lot more than it has been, especially in the earlier hours as we've continued to cover how the conditions are looking out here in Jackson County. As you can see, the waves really starting to kind of come in a little bit harder out here. We're not too far from Buffett Beach, and the waves are really starting to crash in a little bit harder against the rocks. Wind is really starting to pick up as well, starting to feel a little bit more like a storm's coming through. Now, there are quite a bit of people out here. We've got people out here playing in the floodwater. We've got people out here standing on the sidewalk looking at the water. And while right now it's not the worst it's going to be, I did speak with the Pascagoula Fire Chief, Hyler Krebs, and he said that he hopes everybody gets inside and hunkers down before 8 p.m. He's really insistent that everybody gets inside, finds their safe spot, and takes all the precautions they can to make sure that they are safe. But until then, we're live in Pascagoula. Will Polston, WLOX News Now.
All right, thank you, Will. The Gulfport Biloxi International Airport canceling flights today. Austin Johnson caught up with some of the travelers this afternoon.
Right now we are here at the Gulfport Biloxi International Airport, where the last flight just unloaded. Sitting behind me are passengers who are preparing to board the last flight out today. Emotions are fairly upbeat as they are the last flight to depart.
Let's just get on the flight and let's get to Atlanta so I can get to Ohio, period.
I'm on vacation. I took some time off from work and I'm ready to go. Rain or shine.
Gotcha. Flight schedules are expected to return to normal Thursday morning. In Gulfport, Austin Johnson, WLOX News Now.
All right, coming up after the break, we take a look at how Grand Isle's faring with Francine's landfall.
Google Pixel 9 Pro with Magic Editor. Now you can reimagine any photo. Go ahead, the sky's the limit. Okay, I guess not even the sky is the limit.
I've had good bosses and I had bosses, but I've never had a boss like Bernie Moreno. As a shady car salesman, Bernie Moreno got taken to court over a dozen times by his employees for stealing his workers' overtime pay, for racial, age, and sexual discrimination. In one lawsuit, a jury made Moreno pay $400,000 after he admitted to shredding evidence. We cannot trust Bernie Moreno in the Senate.
To help protect from HIV, I prep without pills.
With Apretude, a prescription medicine used to reduce the risk of HIV without daily PrEP pills, with one shot every other month, just 6 times a year. In studies, Apretude was proven superior to a daily PrEP pill in reducing the risk of HIV. You must be HIV negative to receive Apretude and get tested before each injection. If you think you were exposed to HIV or have flu-like symptoms, tell your doctor right away. Apretude does not prevent other sexually transmitted infections. Practice safer sex to reduce your risk. Don't take Apretude if you're allergic to it or taking certain medicines as they may interact. Tell your doctor if you've had liver or kidney problems or mental health concerns. If you have a rash or other allergic reactions, stop Apretude and get medical help right away. Serious side effects include allergic reactions, liver problems, and depression. Some of the most common side effects include injection site reactions and headache. You must receive Apretude as scheduled. Ask your doctor about long-acting Apretude. Save at Apretude.com.
Google Pixel 9 Pro with Gemini Live. Now you can chat back and forth.
My friend's really tough to shop for. Can you help me think of a gift?
Sure, no problem.
This is the view from the top. Yeah, look at me. Look at me.
You're watching the news for South Mississippi. This is WLOX News Now at 6:30.
Welcome back to WLOX News Now. We are continuing our team coverage tonight of Hurricane Francine. Our Matt DeGregorio is out in our storm tracker over in Long Beach. He joins us live now with what he's seeing.
Yeah, guys, rain came in, which means no sports. It has come down, Jennifer, as you were pitching to me. You got the lightning in the background. What more can you ask for in a hurricane? The wind calming down just moments ago. Now it's picking up. Sand rummaging it through Highway 90 right here in past Christiane. I'm getting wetter than I've gotten all day. I know Will just said it's starting to come down over there in Jackson County. Really starting to come down over here a little bit west of that in Harrison County. Now things, I mean, it's conditions that are definitely manageable, but like I said earlier and like has been talked about earlier, no cars really on the road. Everyone trying to stay safe inside their house, except for us. We're out here having fun, bracing the rain. Wind not overly bad right now, but as you guys have heard, conditions going to continue to worsen throughout the next couple hours. We're going to send it right back to the studio. We'll talk to you from the past here in a little bit. For now, here from past Christiane, I'm Matt DeGregorio. Back to you guys.
And Parker Boyd caught up with some people from Louisiana escaping the worst of Hurricane Francine, taking refuge here in South Mississippi.
People from the New Orleans area are flocking here to D'Iberville to seek refuge from Francine hours before it makes landfall. The parking lots in front of Hampton Inn and Suites and Home 2 Suites are filling with vehicles bearing Louisiana license plates. Evacuees from South Louisiana say they've dealt with hurricanes in the past and that they aren't taking chances with Francine. I even spoke with the mother of a newborn baby who says this is her first hurricane with a child. She says it's an adjustment, but she's glad she was able to get her baby out of harm's way. The manager here at Home 2 Suites says they're sold out, and now guests can only wonder what impact Francine will have on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. In D'Iberville, Parker Boyd, WLOX News Now.
And here's what it looks like over in Grand Isle, Louisiana right now. You can't see much, but the waves are increasing in numbers as they crash against the shore. Other parts of Louisiana getting hit with hurricane force winds. Well, stick with us. We will have another check on your weather back here at home right after the break.
Google Pixel 9 Pro with AdMe. Now you won't leave anyone out. Just snap a photo, switch with a friend, and boom. Tell your selfie sticks to stick it.
This is the view from the top.
To help protect from HIV, I prep without pills.
With Apretude, a prescription medicine used to reduce the risk of HIV without daily PrEP pills, with one shot every other month, just 6 times a year. In studies, Apretude was proven superior to a daily PrEP pill in reducing the risk of HIV. You must be HIV negative to receive Apretude and get tested before each injection. If you think you were exposed to HIV or have flu-like symptoms, tell your doctor right away. Apretude does not prevent other sexually transmitted infections. Practice safer sex to reduce your risk. Don't take Apretude if you're allergic to it or taking certain medicines as they may interact. Tell your doctor if you've had liver or kidney problems or mental health concerns. If you have a rash or other allergic reactions, stop Apretude and get medical help right away. Serious side effects include allergic reactions, liver problems, and depression. Some of the most common side effects include injection site reactions and headache. You must receive Apretude as scheduled. Ask your doctor about long-acting Apretude. Save at apretude.com.
You see our storm tracker behind us driving in Long Beach, but you're watching and conditions really picking up over in Bay St. Louis.
Yeah, things are going to go downhill from west to east. And over in Hancock County, let's take a look at the tower cam. You can see things are really going downhill there. Strong gusty winds across the area. You can see those white caps on the water. And notice we're going to see those winds start to increase. The latest from the Hurricane Center as of 7 o'clock, 85 mile per hour winds moving to the northeast at 17 miles per hour. So those tropical storm force winds have made their way into Hancock County and southwestern Harrison County. So from Long Beach over towards Bay St. Louis and Waveland, the Kill, and up into Picayune. That's going to continue to lift off towards the north. 58 mile per hour wind gusts in New Orleans in the past 30 minutes. 35 miles per hour at the Bay Waveland Yacht Club. 39 at Petty Boy Island. Of course, they're gusting over 70 off the coast of Louisiana at the moment. Here's where Francine is at the moment, moving to the northeast 17 miles per hour, centered 20 miles to the east-southeast of Morgan City. And we're going to watch these rain bands intensify as they make their way towards Mississippi coast. And the center of Francine continues to track just to our west. We're going to stay here all night with coverage. We're going to be coming in at the top of every hour with updates on the latest with Francine.
Yeah, so make sure you keep on the WLOX website and on our app. Thanks for joining us and stay safe out there.
To help protect from HIV, I PrEP without pills.
With Apretude, a prescription medicine used to reduce the risk of HIV without daily PrEP pills, with one shot every other month, just 6 times a year. In studies, Apretude was proven superior to a daily PrEP pill in reducing the risk of HIV. You must be HIV negative to receive Apretude and get tested before each injection. If you think you were exposed to HIV or have flu-like symptoms, tell your doctor right away. Apretude does not prevent other sexually transmitted infections. Practice safer sex to reduce your risk. Don't take Apretude if you're allergic to it or taking certain medicines as they may interact. Tell your doctor if you've had liver or kidney problems or mental health concerns. If you have a rash or other allergic reactions, stop Apretude and get medical help right away. Serious side effects include allergic reactions, liver problems, and depression. Some of the most common side effects include injection site reactions and headache. You must receive Apretude as scheduled. Ask your doctor about long-acting Apretude. Save at apretude.com.